touched your face. And I'm like, yes. But I hope they have some clue of how long we've been talking so far. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really weird. I guess is where I'm going. Before, John pointed. So now we're going. The show is officially off. Like the Indianapolis 500, someone has waved the flags, and I'm not a big car race guy, but I think isn't the Indianapolis 500 the one where the cars already start moving, and then they're going like 150 miles an hour, and then they wave the flag when the first car crosses, which is I think is cheating. I think if you're gonna have a race, you've got to start the race stopped. You know, it's like like Olympic sprinters don't get to sprint for 15 or 20 seconds and then they fire the gun. They're like, well, we'll just measure 100 yards from wherever you were and we'll backdate that 500 miles and we'll call it the Indian. I shouldn't talk about car races because I really know almost nothing about car races. Except for when I was very young, it used to be on the ABC Wide World of Sports every Saturday, which I would watch only for like that first 45 seconds because I really liked seeing that skier just biff and hit the mountain and just tumble forever. Like that skier would just be like, oh, he's gonna make, no, he's down, he's stumbling, let's take a commercial. We're back from commercial. He's still tumbling. He's down. He's going down the hill. Look, he's actually gone up the next hill. Oh, now he's tumbling down the side of the next. It made me feel bad to enjoy watching that every time, and then I'd turn on something else or I'd go outside because it was the 70s. Kids were allowed to go outside and play, which doesn't happen anymore. I was watching TV and they're like, oh, you can't have your kids outside. And I'm like, as I recall, my parents would be like, it's sunny, get out. And then we would go somewhere and they wouldn't know where. And then generally around dinner time, we would get hungry. So we would migrate back towards home. And the family down the block, like when they wanted the kids at home, they would just blow this whistle really loud. And you could hear that whistle from blocks away and be like, oh, I gotta go, my mom's whistling. Or they'd be like, I didn't hear any whistle. And we're like, I think your mom's whistling. And they're like, no, we want to keep playing. One day, on the way home, while walking home from school, in second grade, I walked home from school in second grade. Like my mom, I don't know what she was thinking. She must have hated me. Because I think I walked to school in second grade. It was uphill. It was crazy. We were walking home. Someone had thrown out a perfectly good Christmas tree. So it occurred to me, hey, I could take this perfectly good Christmas tree to my house. But when you're a tiny little second grader and you decide to take a Christmas tree to your house, it's really slow going. So like I grabbed this Christmas tree and just started dragging. But it must have taken me like half an hour to drag this Christmas tree like a block and a half. And my mother started to get worried because I hadn't come home yet. So she went out looking for me. But it didn't occur to her to look for me leaning up against this Christmas tree half a block down from her house. So she drove around for a while trying to find my poor dead body laying in a ditch. And then I dragged the Christmas tree home. And then she's like, where were you? And I was like, Christmas tree. And she's like, you're going to be a problem my entire life. I'm pretty sure that's what she said. Anyway, that wasn't what I was going to talk about tonight. Although I vaguely got onto the topic of sports because just before the show, we were watching the Warriors game. And the Warriors are playing Cleveland. It was the first game. The Warriors won. So everyone around here is happy. And by everyone, I mean half people here are happy. And the other half of us really don't care a lot about basketball. But go Warriors because they're local or something. I think they're California. They're the Golden State Warriors from Oakland or Sacramento or something. I thought they were from Sacramento, and then someone's like, well, they play in Oakland. I'm like, are they from Sacramento? And they're like, I don't think so. Like, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, sports ball. They wanted sports ball. Now, by the time this is edited, we'll know whether the Warriors won the big pennant, or whether the Cleveland Cavaliers won. I was going to say Cleveland Heat, but I knew that was wrong because the only basketball player I've heard of lately, who I actually don't know the name of, like he played in Cleveland, and then like he left Cleveland. He's like, screw this, I want to win the pennant, and then he went to Miami because Miami was going to be a good team. He was going to win the pennant, and then everyone in Cleveland was like, screw him, and they like tore his picture down from the side of buildings, and they like unnamed streets with his name, and they like hate named things after him. They're like, he's dead to us. We hate him. He went to Miami. And then like 4 years later, when his contract goes up in Miami, he's like, I'm going to go back to Cleveland. And then they were like, oh, thank God you came back. We love you. Anyway, he's supposed to win the pennant for Cleveland. Cleveland has apparently never won anything, which fits with my notion of Cleveland, which is it's a nice place, but I wouldn't want to live there. And really, the only thing I know from Cleveland, I think on MASH, Klinger was from Cleveland. Could be wrong. And that Drew Carey show was set in Cleveland. And so they had the Cleveland rock song, which I have on my iPod. It's fun. It's mostly someone screaming Cleveland rocks a bunch of times. And I'm like, wow, Cleveland does rock. And I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland. No one knows why. But other than that, Cleveland's got nothing going for it. Whereas California's got everything going for it. We're the Golden State, and we have Warriors. And I guess we'll see. If they win, go Warriors. And if they don't, better luck next year. Win that pennant. In my life, I've done a bunch of stuff lately, as always, which is why I'm frightfully behind getting these shows edited so that you can actually watch them. And specifically lately, we again went to Disney World, to the Magic Kingdom. Well, to Disney World, of which the Magic Kingdom is one. It's crazy. I went to the Magic Kingdom like when I was 5, like in 1971 or 72, because my parents decided they were going to take us to this new Disney World thing that had opened up, like the one in California, but a little bit closer, and in Florida. And I have almost no recollections of Disney World from when I was 5. I remember 2 things about being in Florida that summer. The first thing is we went swimming in the ocean and it tried to kill me. Which is I'm like about yay foot high, and I'm standing in the ocean like maybe 5 or 6 feet out, and a wave just hits me and knocks me over and tried to kill me, which is foreshadowing. That's foreshadowing for my life. And then the only other thing I remember from that entire trip is they had a Dumbo ride where you can get in the little Dumbo thing, and then in front of you there's a button, and when you push the button, the little Dumbo you're in will go up in the air. And meanwhile, it's going around. And then when you push the button again, the Dumbo will go down. Okay? That's the height of ride technology at Disney World in 1971. Push the button, Dumbo goes up. Push the button, Dumbo goes down. So I'm going to assume we waited in line like an hour for this ride. I don't remember how long we waited, but I've been to Disney World. I assume my father and my brother and I waited like an hour and a half in the hot sun to ride on Dumbo. And we got on the Dumbo ride, and there's the button, and my father sat in the middle, and we were each on one side. And I'm sure he said, Keith, you can push the button, then Kevin, you can push the button. And the ride started, and we went around, and I pushed the button, and Dumbo went up, and then we rode around at the top for a little while, and then I pushed the button, and Dumbo went down, and then Kevin pushed the button, and Dumbo didn't go up, and the ride ended. Okay? I have heard about this affront for the last 40 years from my brother. Okay? I ruined Disney World for him. Okay? I did not let him push the button. Okay? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It wasn't my fault. I was 5. I was not the ride designer. They didn't have a timer. There was nothing that told. Okay, I'm getting all angry thinking about it. Okay, so I'm just gonna move on. I'm gonna move on. I was at Disney World then, and we went back to Disney World this last time, and it was nice. It was nice. First of all, I rode on the same Dumbo ride. Not this last trip. We rode it like 18 months ago. It's crazy. I've been to Disney World 3 times in my life. Once when I was 5, and twice in the last 18 months. And they've revamped the Dumbo ride. I'm just going to mention this. Parents out there, you can take your kids to Disney World and go on the Dumbo ride because they got rid of the button. There's now a lever. And when you push forward, the Dumbo goes up. And when you pull back, it's just like a regular plane. You can go up and down and up and down and up and down to your heart's content. So you can let one kid push it up and back and up and back. And you can get a fast pass. So you don't have to wait an hour and a half in the hot sun to cause strife in your family with the up and down of the Dumbo ride. But no, we again went to Disney World for a family reunion. Apparently families love this place, which makes sense because when we got there, what it was filthy with is with families. And you could tell they're families because apparently it has occurred to someone that if you get like a family reunion at Disney World, you can sell all of them exactly the same shirt with exactly the same writing on it, and they'll all pay $20 a piece for it. So like, you get the name, and you just screen print them. You just take, hey, what's the name of your family? And you scrawl it with a Sharpie, and then you screen print 30 of them, and it's like, the Smith family reunion, smithing it up after all these years, whatever you get. Right? And you sell the same weird orange shirt or this off-peach shirt or this lime green shirt. And if you're doing this as a family reunion, it's great because you can see each other from very far away. You're like, who else is wearing this exact same shade of lime green? And you look around, you can find each other. Or you have cell phones, you can call each other. Disney World, filthy with families, because they all advertise it on their shirts. We did not get family reunion shirts. And I blame the guy in charge for this, but really it's a good idea, because I wouldn't have worn it. And plus we're there for 5 days, and you don't want me wearing the same shirt for 5 days in a row, because it just gets all gross and stuff really quickly around to me, because... where was I going? Oh, Disney World, right? So we went again. We had a nice time. We did the thing we do at Disney World, which is we sleep until like 11 o'clock in the morning, because why get up early? It's just filled with families and small crying children. And then we could get to Disney World by like the crack of 1, maybe crack of 2, depending. Get a couple fast passes for the afternoon. We walked around. We had 2 games to play this year. We had the same game we played last year, this weird little card game that Disney has set up with RFID technology, blah, 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 which we finished the game our last night at Disney World with 18 minutes to spare. Like, we got to the last level, and they were like, you won! And we're like, yay! Well, we got to get there by 11 o'clock to turn in to get our stuff. And we got there and they were like, hey, you won the game on medium. What do you want us to do? And we're like, I don't know. They're like, do you want us to start you again on hard? And we're like, we're not coming back again. They're like, well, we'll start you again on hard. So next time we go, this game is going to be impossible for us. Like, I don't really know how it could get harder because it didn't seem particularly hard on medium, but it's going to be impossible. Like, we'll get to these portals and we'll hold the card up and it'll just go, no, and it'll shut off. We'll have to do puzzles. That was one game. And then the other game we played is we've been playing Ingress, which is this evil game from Google designed to sap productivity from the American worker by making him walk around staring at his phone all the time, capturing things for the valiant blue team, not the evil green team. Blue team good, green team bad. If you're watching in the audience, you're not playing Ingress, and you're like, I got to get me some of that sweet Ingress action. Number one, think hard before you start playing. Because Google has an entire building full of psychologists who are making this thing as frickin' addicting as they can. And they're smarter than you are because they managed to sucker me in. And so it's tricky. It's tricky. And then you'll start playing, and you'll be like, I'm just going to play for 5 more minutes, just maybe a couple more portals. I just need a little more IP. I need a little more IP. And Disney World is just, it's heaven if you're an Ingress player. Because, like, everywhere is a portal. Like, normally you got to walk a long way. Near my house there are like 5 portals in the park, so I can jog to the park, and that takes 10 minutes. And then I can jog around the park, and it takes me 10 minutes to jog around the park, and I can hit 8 portals in 10 minutes. And it's like, oh, I'm going to jog around the park again because the portals haven't burnt out yet. And then, like, I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, I've been jogging for 90 minutes. Just hack. Ooh, but link, hack. Okay? Disney World, you cannot walk more than 20 feet without coming into range of another portal, right? So it's like you're spinning the screen because you're like, I can't tell all these portals apart. I'm clicking and hacking and clicking and hacking. We played those 2 games. And then we do what you pay money to do at Disney World. Like occasionally we go on a ride. We're like, hey, should we go on a ride? That line seems kind of short. Sure. So like we rode Haunted Mansion every day because it's cheesy. Like you get in a little thing and like, oh, there are 999 haunts in the Haunted Mansion, and there's always room for one more. And the first 4 or 5 times that's funny, and then I'm like, but there are 2 people in these little seats. That means only one of us could be in the Haunted Mansion. The other one would have to haunt the rest of the park. It doesn't. Oh, well, we do enjoy it, right? I mean, it was kind of weird in Haunted Mansion. I think like 2 or 3 times the car actually stopped for a while. And so you kind of see the exact same part of the Haunted Mansion through a couple cycles. Like there was this once we were caught in the graveyard at the end, and I was able to go, wow, let's look at the mechanism that's tilting these tombstones. And then I kind of look around, you can see, oh, look, they've got a piston, and there's a rotating cam, and that's connected to another. That's why it gets that weird little hiccup in the middle. They've got the 2 cams, right? They're driving the one, and then that's oscillating. I'm like, oh, very clever. That makes it look like more than just a tombstone that just waves back and forth. This is one that actually has a little bump to it every once in a while. Or, oh, look, yeah, that head on that stick that pops up, right? It pops up and then it shakes a little bit, and you're like, wow, I wonder how they get that little bit of shake in. And then you can kind of see that the stick had a little bit of like a rubber thing, so that it popped up and it hit, and then. As an engineer, it was fascinating to watch this, but it kind of ruins a little bit of the magic. And then you're like, well, there's no magic. It's just Disney World is just like, well, let's give engineers a lot of money and tell them to make something kind of Disney-y. And we did the same thing on Pirates. Pirates is like Han mentioned, but you're in boats, and twice. Like something must have happened because the boats just started backing up. So like they backed up halfway through the ride. Like we got halfway through the ride and we're like, wow, that boat in front of us isn't moving very. Oh, look, we've hit the boat in front of us. And then we just sat there for a while, and you're like, oh, look, we can see that nice animatronic lady chasing that pirate with the pitchfork. Oh, look, there's a nice animatronic lady chasing the pirate with the pitchfork. Pirate with a pitchfork, chasing the pirate with the pitch. Oh, look, there's a kitty. There's a little. Oh, it's an animatronic kitty. It's not a real kitty. I wonder if there are real kitties anywhere in Disney World. Like, I mean, it seems to me that you wouldn't quite know that they weren't animatronic kitties, unless your boat got stuck and you're like, wow, that's amazing for an animatronic. That cat looks just like it. Oh, it's a cat. I wonder how that cat's gonna get out of this ride. Someone probably feeds the cat, is what I'm thinking. I mean, I'm sure Probably full of cats. Maybe not. I mean, their mascot is a mouse. You think they might not like... Okay, that's neither here nor there. We, as you can imagine, we flew to Disney World, or to Florida, because it's too far to drive. Ordinarily, when I get on a plane, I generally either read a book, or I bring my computer, and I open my computer up, and I start typing code, and then eventually my battery dies, and then I'm like, I wonder if there's a plug under this seat. And sometimes there's a plug under my seat, and then I can keep typing code. And sometimes there isn't, and then I have to read a book. But this time we got to our seat, and normally, like Loretta and I normally book the window in the aisle with the hope that they won't sell all the seats in the plane, because no one wants to sit in the middle seat. And so those always sell last. And then we get an empty middle seat in between us, and then we put the arms up, and we're a little more comfortable. But like we get on the plane and there's a lady sitting in the middle seat and we're like, yeah, we booked the two aisles. We booked the aisle and the window, but we'd be willing to let you sit in the window or the aisle and we'll just take the other two that are together. And she's like, oh, that would be great. But I already paid for movies on the middle TV screen. And I'm like, oh, do I want to have Loretta sit over there and have some movie? Like, okay, fine, just sit in the aisle. I'll pay for your movies on your thing, and then I got movies on mine. So I paid for movies on hers. And then the plane starts moving, and then like there are no movies on mine. And she's like, oh, well, that did seem a little weird. Like, I noticed when you paid for movies, we had to confirm it with a button, but it didn't ask me to confirm with the button on yours. And I'm like, oh, well, I just gave you $8. That's fine. She's like, no, I want to pay for movies on yours. And then she sticks her credit card in and she's pushed the button. I'm like, I really didn't want movies on mine. I had no intention of watching the movie, but now I paid for your movies. You've just insisted on paying for my movies. It would be rude not to watch the movie, right? I don't want to make you, random lady I just sat next to and will never see again, angry or upset. So I'm like, oh, fine, I'll watch the movies on the plane. And so Florida's a long way away, so I actually got a chance to watch 2 entire movies in the plane. And movies in a plane are never great, because the TV screen is tiny, and you have little earphones in, and occasionally the pilot will come on and announce something. And in the real world, like 10 years ago, you were just screwed. You were like if the pilot decided, hey, I want you all to know that we're flying over the biggest meatball in Kansas, and people on the left side of the plane with really good eyesight might be able to see the biggest meatball in Kansas if you look down. I just thought you'd want to know that. You're like, hey, I just missed a minute of this movie I paid $8 for. But now they have technology. When the pilot does this, like the movie's on a DVR and it pauses the movie, and then when the pilot finishes, it backs up 15 seconds and starts the movie playing again, which is both okay and very disturbing. Because first of all, sometimes you're like, you bump in. So I watched, the 2 movies I watched Kingsman, which is an action movie, mumble, British Secret Service, kind of, with Samuel L. Jackson as an evil computer genius with a speech impediment who wanted to kill everyone in the world because of global warming. Like, he was going to save a couple rich people, but everyone else was going to die. And as an action movie, it's fine. But the basic premise of the film, I have watched enough of how it's made to know that if you kill 10% of the people on the earth, we are doomed. Because we could no longer do anything we do now. You're like, wow, I'm sure we could get by with 25% of the people we have now. It's like, no. Do you know how to make saran wrap? No, you don't. There are like 7 people that know how to make saran wrap. I've seen the show about making saran wrap, right? And there's this huge factory with like 90-foot ceilings, and these guys come out in the arms and the saran wrap, okay? We need saran wrap. But saran wrap's not on the list of things that rich people know how to make. And even if it was, after you've killed off 90% of the world's population, all the people that are left are not going to want to do the shit jobs that we have to do to have saran wrap and aluminum foil and all the other things, right? We would quickly be back to beating rocks together and trying to make phone calls on them, is all I'm saying. And again, they put their secret headquarters in like downtown London, and they're like, oh well, let's go to our building, and they get in the elevator and they go down, and then they get in a subway, and then the next cut you see they're in the beautiful London suburbs, like far out of the country estate. And it's like, really? It's like $8 million a mile to drill a subway. Why did you drill a subway 90 miles out into the English countryside? Why don't you just take a car? Just get in a car and drive there. You can pay a guy. And then the other movie I watched Jupiter Ascending, which is some weird science fiction thing. And truthfully, I have trouble explaining what it was. And someone said, how was the movie? I'm like, well, I don't think it was that good. I had trouble following the plot. So then I do what I do sometimes. I went to Wikipedia to see if they would explain the plot to me. And the first sentence of the Wikipedia article under whatever was, a lot of critics said it was really hard to understand the plot. I'm like, well, I don't feel as bad for not understanding this movie on a plane with the tiny speakers and the backing up 15 seconds where everything happened. But apparently space aliens want our brains, or some liquid made from our brains, and they are immortal, and someone on Earth is a genetic something, and there was a lot of explosions and a lot of falling, and a fair amount of it was set on the planet Jupiter inside the Great Red Spot, but somehow gravity was the same as it is on Earth, and it didn't make a lot of sense. So if you're one of the film people that made Jupiter Ascending, try harder next time. Again, offer still stands. Anyone in Hollywood, anyone making a movie, just send me the script. I'll make some notes. I'll be like, this seems silly, or E equals MC squared, the squared, or I will try to explain enough of physics to get your movie through things. What else did I have? What else? Other stuff. We rode on a roller coaster for like the first time in 15 years, and we didn't die. So we are very happy that happened. We went to Hollywood Studios. We saw, yeah, I know you're telling me to stop, but I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. Just, if you're watching this on TV, it's just going to go dark. And you're going to be like, what was Keith going to say? Could have been great. Could have been great. Probably not, but it could have been great. We saw Muppets at Hollywood Studios. Muppets just make me happy because they take me back to the 70s when I was a child and there was a Muppet Show on TV, and I'm like, ooh, Kermit, I love Kermit. I'm going to assume we actually are like on time, right? We're running credits now, right?
Running credits. Yeah, we're running.
Running credits. Good Lord, I could still be talking about Star Wars weekend. There was Star Wars weekend there at Hollywood Studios because Disney bought Star Wars, so now it's going to be sucked into the Disney world.